What's happening, Who Dat Nation? Welcome into another edition of Saints Now by Chat Sports. As always, I'm your host, Trizzy Girouard. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. And for the program, we just finished up a 3-round mock draft where all of the Chat Sports channels were live on YouTube, and each channel was responsible for making their respective selections in the first 3 rounds. And we had a lot of fun. I want to say thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. We went through the first 3 rounds, but in our live draft coverage on draft weekend, all 3 days, all 7 rounds, we're going to be live here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. We're going to be reacting to each and every pick, giving you deep analysis of picks from a Saints perspective. And of course, we're going to be interacting with you guys in the live chat, doing some fun super chat giveaways, and having an absolute blast. So I encourage you to subscribe to the channel today so you don't miss any of our awesome live draft coverage or any of our other content that we put out throughout the calendar year, off season, regular season, doesn't matter. We put out content. Alrighty, so how this worked. The New Orleans Saints selections, I didn't make any picks. I wanted to leave it up to the people. So I let our subscribers make the selections. And what happened? We had a bunch of people sending $100 super chats and say, I want to make the pick. So that's what we did. And Matthew Russell, a big-time supporter and a big-time real one here at Saints Now by Chat Sports, was responsible for the 9th overall selection, and he went with Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback out of Colorado. It was interesting how the board fell. Tet McMillan was available, but Ashton Jeanty, Will Campbell, Tyler Warren, all selected before the New Orleans Saints selection. So best player available, you could have argued maybe Shedeur Sanders. And I'll tell you what, with Shedeur, the statistics for him last year are pretty impressive, but I don't think that it tells the full story. He is a very accurate passer, and he, fun fact, does have the highest completion percentage over his college football career in the history of the great sport of college football. He's extremely accurate, really good mechanics, strong football IQ, but the mindset and the mentality are something that are second to none. He's a absolute dog. I mean, this guy has swagger, he has moxie, he has the poise, he has all of the things you want in a quarterback. And I think with Kellen Moore, this could be a potential pick that could be a really good selection even a few years down the road, and maybe even next year. I mean, I'm a big fan of Shedeur Sanders' game. He is a little bit inconsistent in the pocket, but that's something I believe you can work out and you can coach out, and I think Kellen Moore, being a former quarterback, is a really good move here in terms of pairing him with Shedeur Sanders. Now, the Athletic's Dane Brugler has some really good insight in the beast. I highly encourage you to check it out, and here's kind of the synopsis of Shedeur Sanders according to Dane Brugler. Shedeur doesn't have the physical traits to get away with some of his decisions, but he is a poised, rhythmic passer, and when he stays true to his skill set and he shows the necessary touch and confidence of an NFL starter, he fits best in a timing-based offense. And look, I'm not going to sit here and try and sell you on whether or not Shedeur Sanders is the guy. This was simply a selection that was made by one of our subscribers. At the end of the day, I would love to see Kellen Moore just get his quarterback. I don't care who it is. I don't care what round they're picked. I don't care if it's this year, next year, if it's Spencer Rattler. I genuinely don't care who the guy is under center. I just want to see somebody get invested in early in the draft by Kellen Moore. I want to see him take that player and take him to new heights, because quite frankly, it's just something the New Orleans Saints need, and I'm just tired of mediocrity and tired of just piss poor football. So grade the pick for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Shedeur Sanders at number 9 overall. When you kind of take into consideration the context of who was available, I really think this was a really good pick. Malachi Starks was there. There was a handful of other players as well, but I just really like this selection. So I'm going to go with the A-. I'm not going to go full A+. I'm going to go A-, but I think that's totally fair to do. Now, Mason Taylor, he was the selection at round 2, number 40 overall, and this might be a little bit of an early pick, but again, this was a selection made by one of our subscribers by the name of Isaiah. I don't want to dox him, Isaiah Tobar. He told me I was okay to say that, so I hope that it doesn't totally dox him. If you're in the McKinney area, go get your car taken care of by my guy Isaiah. I'll just say this. I love this selection. Is it a little early? Maybe. But if we have this conversation in a few years and we're like, wow, he was a great pick, I don't think any of us are going to be complaining that we used a round 2 selection on Mason Taylor. In my opinion, this guy is a massive boom just waiting to happen. The statistics are not going to jump off the screen. However, this is a player who I think is going to have a very illustrious NFL career. And maybe he'll never lead the NFL tight end room in receiving yards across the entire league. Maybe he'll never beat Travis Kelce or George Kittle or Mark Andrews or any of these players. But maybe, just maybe, he's a player who will always be reliable, who will always be in the conversation of a top overall tight end. And he's just a player who's a classic safety valve, really, really nice size at 6'5", 251 pounds. He's a little bit of a comparison to Pat Freiermuth or Hunter Henry. He doesn't turn 21 till May either, which is something to consider. And here's what Dane Brugler said about the LSU tight end. Taylor was Mr. Reliable in the LSU offense and can be the same for an NFL team. Because of his good size athleticism, reliable ball skills, and competitive blocking, he projects as a solid NFL starter and doesn't have to leave the field and has some similarities to Hunter Henry. Now, in terms of the athleticism, the combine was absolutely amazing. The relative athletic score is just under a 9.0 at 8.89. He ran a 4.68 40. The gauntlet drill, he absolutely crushed it, like damn near perfect for Mason Taylor. And I'll make an argument that although tight end may not be the biggest need, I think it is a need. And I would love to see Kellen Moore add a tight end in this draft this year. There is injury concerns around Taysom Hill and whether or not he'll be available anytime soon. Foster Moreau suffered an injury late in the season as well. Juwan Johnson is not a true tight end. So in terms of healthy true tight ends available, it's Dallin Holker and that's it. Jack Stoll, that's about it. But he's a blocking tight end. So I want to see the Saints address tight end, and I want to see Mason Taylor potentially be that pick. Whether it's Taylor, maybe Tyler Warren. I love that selection as well. Like, I just want to see the Saints add a tight end I think is an underrated need. So, Isaiah, I like this pick. Maybe it's a reach, but hey, if that's your guy, go get your damn guy. And if you want to go get some tickets, we got the best place to do that. That is Game Time, the #1 ticketing app in the whole wide world. And live sports are so much fun. We got professional baseball in full swing. Professional basketball in New Orleans is done. However, in your city, if you don't live in the boot, maybe you still got basketball in your area. Game Time specializes in last-minute tickets for the lowest price, and you can save up to 60% when buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and even more. Game Time is the best ticketing app to get tickets in your area to live events. Like I said, it's not just limited to sports. You can go to see your favorite band, your favorite comedian, your favorite musical. And I'll tell you what, one of the best ways to use the Game Time app is to use it to buy tickets for a date. Whether it's with a significant other, whether it's with one of your best friends, whether you want to take your mom out to a nice night. I mean, I think a great way to create memories and a great gift is memories. And Game Time is here to help you do just that. They also highlight super deals. So if you want to take advantage of the best value tickets for your specific live event, they highlight that. They make sure you know that you're getting a super deal. And Game Time is the best way to get tickets. You can get seat views, all-in pricing, the lowest price guarantee, and they have Game Time ticket coverage, which means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but once again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS. That's code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All that information is in the comments and description of this video. Alrighty, shocking pick here. Dark Knight, a legend. For what it's worth, the next two picks were made by Dark Knight. He sent in two separate $100 super chats. Absolutely insane. I genuinely cannot say thank you enough. I genuinely cannot say I appreciate you enough. And I can tell you right now, my dog, dude, he's a big, big fan of Dark Knight. So let's talk about him. I thought this was a little bit of an interesting selection, but I'm not closed off to this pick. I wanted to be very clear here. I understand that the New Orleans Saints have a need at a specific type of wide receiver. But this is a player who was pretty productive. And although he's only 6 foot, 205 pounds, he was responsible for 55 receptions, 834 yards, 15.2 yards per catch, and 6 touchdowns. But in 2023, he had 15 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, and 15.2 yards per catch as well. So interesting thing here, I think that you could really have him be a high-level wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 or something. And that's not to say a third-round pick should be used as a wide receiver 3 or 4, but that is to say maybe even a wide receiver 2, honestly, depending on how things shake out. I actually am shockingly surprised with how good Jalen Royals was in contested catches. Over 53.3%, or it was 53.3% in 2024, 8 of 15 contested catches. Throughout the course of his career, 73.9 contested catch rate, 17 of 23 work caught, 3.0 yards per route run is absolutely awesome. He might have some pressures versus, or it might have some issues versus pressure. However, he had 10 catches of 50-plus yards over the last 2 seasons, which is number 1 in all of college football. I'm a big fan of Jalen Royals. I think that maybe this is a pick that could have been a little bit of a reach. However, I do think that this is a player who tested well. I think this is a player that can be very dangerous after the catch, and he seems to have really nice quick speed and short area quickness. So Dane Brugler says that Royals combines a smooth footwork with athletic body control, physical play strength, and tracking skills to be a 3-level threat as he expands his route tree. He has the talent to emerge as a team's wide receiver 2 within the first few NFL seasons. And look, I do think there's a spot there for Jalen Royals. I know I said wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. That's what our draft notes say, according to Tom Downey. But Dane Brugler says maybe a wide receiver 2. And I think that that's a position that's open and up for grabs. I don't think Rashid Shaheed, and this is not a knock to him. I'm a big, big fan of Rashid Shaheed, maybe the biggest out there. I don't think he's a true wide receiver 2. I think he's a great complementary wide receiver as a deep threat and as a speedster. But I think if you have Chris Olave and Jalen Royals as your wide receiver 1 and 2, that's something you can work with. It's something you can build around. And that's something that you can get excited about for the foreseeable future with Shedeur Sanders, who was the quarterback taken in round 1. I think this is an important draft because you address a lot of offense. I'm here to tell you, in round 3, we didn't stop there. At 93rd overall, we went with Savion Williams. Again, the pick was made by Dark Knight. So if you're going to be mad about the selections, it was made by some subscribers. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the guy who's announcing what they made. Look, Savion Williams, I was actually vouching for him to be the 71st overall pick. But Dark Knight said, no, I want Jalen Royals. And then Savion Williams fell to 93, and he said, screw it, let's double dip here. Like, for what it's worth, the board fell really, really weird. A lot of top corners, a lot of top receivers, a lot of guys that I really wanted us to select were not available by the time the Saints made their selection. So with Savion Williams, he was a good alternative option, and I think using a third-round pick on him is a valuable thing because he's not just a receiver, he's also somebody who offers versatility as a runner. 51 carries, 322 yards, over 6 yards per carry. He had 6 touchdowns on the ground, but he also averaged over 10 yards per catch, 611 yards in the air, and 6 touchdowns through the air. I do think with Savion Williams, there's a question about what the role is going to be. Is he a runner? Is he a pass catcher? What do we use for him? Like, I think that he's a classic Joker type player. And I think when you think of Cordarrelle Patterson, that's the kind of player you can compare him to. Maybe even a more athletic Treylon Burks, hopefully without the all the flaws and all the injury issues. But I do think he's a developmental wide receiver with impact gadget ability. And I am a fan of what Savion Williams has done so far. He has a unique and rare size. He does really, really good job on the runs in gadget plays, 22 forced missed tackles in 4.2 yards after contact. And on top of that, he's actually really good after the catch on passes too, 18 forced missed tackles with 6.9 yards after contact, up from 11 in 4.6. So he's also really, really good in contested catches, 8 for 9. And he has a 75% completion percentage on contested catches over the course of his career. Very tough player. Overall, he looks like a really good athlete. He does have limited production, which is worth being questionable about. And he isn't really a true wide receiver yet. But I do think that this is a player to keep in mind. This is a player who can be dangerous when you pass the ball behind the line of scrimmage. And I do think that he's a player that can get a lot of run and be a really good weapon for Kellen Moore, who's known for tapping into the skill set and appealing to the strengths of his roster, wherever he's been. So just to kind of recap here, here's the 4 selections that the Who Dat Nation made. Matthew Russell went with Shedeur Sanders, Shedorlins. Then we had Isaiah go Mason Taylor, round 2, pick 40 overall. Dark Knight took Jalen Royals, then double dipped on wide receiver and went Savion Williams. So I want you to let me know, what do you think about this mock draft? Are you a fan of it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What would you have done differently? And Saints fans, I encourage you one more time, subscribe to the channel. If you're still watching, we're doing something right. So I really appreciate you guys for hanging out, rocking and rolling with us. We're going to be live all 3 days of the draft, and we're going to be giving you content every single day leading up. So I hope you guys tune in. I hope you guys are subscribed. Y'all stay golden. Thank you so much for tuning into the live mock draft. We'll see you next time.